Good morning, and thanks for joining us here at the Ministry of Information, where this morning the Ministry for Sanitation and Water Resources will be updating us on work that the Ministry has been embarking upon in the last 1.5 years since that Ministry was put in place. With us this morning, the very first person I want to introduce is the incoming Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Madam Cecilia Abena Dapa. Let's acknowledge her with a round of applause. Also with us this morning is the outgoing Minister for the sector, the Honorable Kofi Ada, Member of Parliament for Navrongo constituency. Let's acknowledge him as well with a round of applause. We are pleased to have with us as well the Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, the Honorable Patrick Boama. Engineer Clifford Brima is MD, Ghana Water Company Limited. Engineer Wolanyo Saibo is CEO of the Community Water and Sanitation Agency. My name is Kojo Oponkroma. I am the Deputy Minister for Information. One of my colleagues, the Honorable Pius Hajide, will join us shortly before we wrap up. So without further ado, I want to invite the outgoing Minister to join us up here and to start the briefing, and then after that I'll take your questions.
Honorable colleague ministers, heads of agencies, distinguished members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me say that I want to express my gratitude to you, the members of the media, for what you've been doing over the past 1.5 years. People thought I was being shot at in the media. A lot of unpleasant things were said. But I think that was part of the awareness creation. I think you deserve commendation for that. You may not have been pleasant, but you did a job by making everybody aware that sanitation is so important and that we should all be a part of it and change the system. I also wish to welcome you to this session. Indeed, it's the second session that we are having. We had ours last year, but because I'm stepping aside for somebody else to take over, and I'm going on to take over the responsibility of aviation, I must also brief you on where we are today, and that's why I'm here. So I welcome you to the second session. And then I also wish to state that I know you strongly expect us to talk about sanitation here. But it's not only sanitation that we do. We also deal with water, both at the urban and rural areas. And so I'd like to begin with that, since that's not so contentious, and then move on later on to the sanitation bit. Having said that, may I draw the attention of all gathered here, and emphatically too, that the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources was the one and only ministry which in the first year of the President Nana Addo Dankwa-Akuffo's government was able to source, successfully negotiate, and got the approval of Cabinet and Parliament to bring to the government $149 million. In other words, we are the only ministry that was able to successfully get funds for the government in the first year of Nana Addo Dankwa-Akuffo's government. No other ministry did that. People tend to ignore that. This is simply because of the fact that with the creation of a new ministry dedicated to sanitation and water, which had been neglected for far too long, we needed to build the resource base to be able to deliver in this sector. The specific interventions targeted under these funds are the Sustainable Rural Water and Sanitation Project for 6 regions in the country under the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, the Upper East Water Project at Tono, coincidentally in my constituency in Avrongo, under the Ghana Water Company, the Greater Accra Sustainable Sanitation and Livelihoods Improvement Project dedicated to the Greater Accra area, and the nationwide SCADA project under the Ghana Water Company again. The total of $149 million was secured last year. But as it is, with the business of government, you have to go through some process to be able to get those funds. Actively utilize them. In addition to this, we also signed a framework agreement in China last year to benefit from nearly $2 billion for water and sanitation. These resources, we believed, could only be applied efficiently if we had a strategic roadmap that would lead to us attaining the vision of His Excellency the President during the tenure of his office, and indeed in helping us to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 6 under the United Nations Global Development Agenda. We therefore set to the development of this strategic roadmap that would span the short, medium, and long-term periods, including quick impact measures in the immediate. And I must say that these plans have been successfully drawn up to support the ministry in its work. It is with government business that various processes have to be followed before the funds can be disbursed and applied in the execution of planned activities. So therefore, in the case that even after securing the funds, the actual execution of these projects started early this year. So they only started early this year, with the Sustainable Rural Water and Sanitation Project leading the way, and then slowly we moved up to the Gaslit Project, which, as I said, is targeting the Greater Accra area, and that started in July. And then the Upper East Water Project is yet to commence in September. The funds from the framework agreement signed in China are yet to be concluded this coming month, and the plan is to support the water development projects as well as the expansion of the SCADA system to track broken and leaking pipelines and other water infrastructure, as well as the provision of sanitation infrastructure such as solid waste transfer stations and treatment plants, including fecal treatment plants. It is envisioned that those projects will commence early next year. Honorable Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, besides the newly secured funds, as indicated above, funds from an existing project, like the World Bank supported Gamma project, were utilized to execute some interventions last year, such as water pipelines extension and the Ghana Water, as well as household toilets construction in the Greater Accra area. On the Government of Ghana funding for the ministry, even though the Ministry of Finance was quite generous in its allocation last year, releases were very limited and coming rather late in the year, which, coupled with the inability of the cumbersome procurement process, denied the Ministry of utilizing those funds as planned. Thus, the time the procurement process was completed, the Finance Ministry was unable to honor our request, leaving us with some unpaid bills in some cases, as well as unexecuted projects last year. On water, I wanted to talk about specifics for now. In 2017, some ongoing projects were completed, with the Wa Water project commissioned by the President when he visited the Upper West region last year, leaving others such as the Isachiri, Kimoda, and Winneba water projects also completed, awaiting commissioning by the project. While a number of cabinet memoranda and funding to support the improvement of water supply in the country have been prepared and submitted to the Ministry of Finance for signature towards the execution of various water projects in Yendi, Damongo, Tamale, Segundi Takradi, Sunyani, Doma Hinkro, Isiama, Begrove, Watiakwa, and Kong Phase 2. The completion of the drilling of 1,000 boreholes was undertaken last year, and the cabinet memoranda were also prepared for consideration on the Sokokope Lomi Water Project, as well as on the drilling of another 5,000 and 3,000 boreholes from different companies, in this case from China. The estimated cost of these proposals stand at about $1.5 billion. In other words, this is what we'll be able to package for the sector. The functionality of boreholes has not been encouraging, as near 30% of the boreholes are broken down and not functional. The quality of the water has also been a serious case of worry, not just because of the illegal mining that we are facing, but also because of the adverse effects of the mining program on the groundwater systems. Indeed, the boreholes too have also encountered problems with water quality. As we drill the boreholes, we are not able to actually treat the water. So the reports are not favorable at all as far as boreholes are concerned. The proposal to improve the quality of water through a filtration system to be financed by the United Kingdom Export Finance Agency has also been transformed into a cabinet memorandum awaiting approval to help bring about an improvement in the water quality in rural communities. For this year, Honorable Ministers, the Ministry, through the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, has completed bids for the award of contracts for the drilling of boreholes, some to be fitted with hand pumps, while others will be mechanized into small town water systems. The Ministry itself has just awarded contracts for the drilling of 2,000 boreholes throughout the country. The Ministry has also been collaborating with the non-governmental organizations to provide various forms of drinking water in the rural areas, such as standalone boreholes as well as mechanized systems. Plans are also far advanced to procure 2,000 solar pumps from an Indian manufacturer through the Indian Exim Bank to ensure that we mechanize supply of water through solar power. All these initiatives would further help to improve water supply in the country and draw the country closer to achieving the water for all agenda of the government. On sanitation, which is our largest and greatest concern and one of the President's greatest ambitions, we have laid the required solid foundation for the nation to take off to become the cleanest country in Africa. And I'm personally convinced about that. What we put in motion now, with the funds having been secured and the strategic plans, both short, medium, and long term, I'm sure we can work towards making Ghana the cleanest country in Africa. Of course, beginning with the Accra being the cleanest city. Honorable Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, we in the sector consider the entire undertaking of our ministry to be a project, especially given that the two subsectors fall in line with the goal 6 I beg your pardon, of the SDGs. In that sense, we proceeded to deliver on our mandate from a project design perspective, which requires that you must do adequate and thorough strategic planning, mobilizing the needed resources before rolling out the implementation activities. And this is the approach that we have pursued in the last year and a half. As stated earlier, we developed the various steps for effectively dealing with the sanitation challenge with the quick impact measures identified, laying out the short to medium term measures before scaling up onto the long-term strategic plan. These we developed fully to guide us in leading Ghana into a clean, eco-friendly environment. The quick impact measures were to evacuate illegal refuse heaps at public places, which we sought to do by clearing 6 of such sites, as we did at the Mala Market, Gilife, Ededemko, Trinity University at Legon and Okonglo. The clearing of other visible sites of refuse at the markets was to be undertaken by private service providers who are under contract to do so regularly. It turned out that because of outstanding debts, some of them were not doing so regularly, which others we discovered later on had actually abandoned their concessions. We urged our assemblies to do so by cleaning up some of the waste sites, but over the years, the equipment had also broken down, and so they could not effectively do so. In other words, we sought to help the process by clearing the illegal dump sites. We contracted some companies to do so. I think there were 6, and they did a good job, but as we speak, we're not even able to pay them all off completely. So that goes to combine with the fact that the assemblies owe the private service providers, and so they could not actually force them or push them to be able to clean up the places quickly. That's why most of us see the heaps all over the city, especially in Accra. Funding, therefore, was the critical challenge impeding on the successful execution of the quick impact session. The need to launch and implement a national sanitation campaign to address the attitudinal aspects of sanitation, which no doubt is human-based and effectively deals with the sanitation issue, which can be facilitated through a natural process of all of us complying with the laws. That's something that we launched last year by His Excellency the President to set in motion what needs to be done to get us all to change our attitudes. This latter activity was done late last year with the President itemizing 11 points to be pursued to bring about the needed change. On the short-term measures, the intention was to rebuild the capacities of the assemblies with the Greater Accra metropolitan area by procuring waste collection equipment for them to be able to constantly evacuate waste amount to 20% of what is available to them, leaving the 80% for the private service providers to undertake it. The medium-term measures, including the formation of a national sanitation authority to deal with the regulatory and sustainable financing aspects of sanitation matters, while also procuring more equipment for all assemblies nationwide and also building their capacities to deal with the entire value chain of waste management. The long-term strategy was to develop a 30-year integrated program involving water and sanitation and also dealing with solid and liquid waste, including even sewage systems and drains. This plan has been drawn up, but is at the draft stage, awaiting stakeholders' consultation for finalization. In summary, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, having mentioned resource constraints, let me happily state here that with His Excellency the President's declaration of supporting the sector with resources, the Finance Minister followed through with an allocation of 100 million cedis for us, in addition to our capital expenditure budget for 2018 of 59 million cedis. What was now left for us was to follow the procurement procedures to utilize these resources. I must admit publicly here that the lack of capacity in this new and small ministry, particularly in the procurement area in this young ministry, combined with the lethargic attitude of some of the key staff whose preference is to attend workshops and do side jobs as consultants to draw allowances rather than do the core work of the ministry, that slowed us down seriously. Having said that, try as I could, with the assistance of a few dedicated staff, we have completed the process to procure the critical equipment needed and to disperse the funds to other agencies such as the government assemblies, other metropolitan authorities in the nation, as well as the regional capitals. As we speak, ladies and gentlemen, approvals have been given by the Public Procurement Authority, contracts have been awarded to suppliers, and orders have been placed for 50 mechanized stationary compactors, 10 specialized underground bins, and 12 beach cleaning equipments, as well as related conveyor trucks. We are all aware of what has been going on the beaches. The beaches are littered with solid waste and, of course, open defecation as well. What we've done with the funds we got has been to place orders for 12 beach cleaning equipment. These are tractor-drawn equipment that will be moving up and down on the beaches to clean up the beaches, get rid of solid waste, and make them friendly for the users of the beaches, including even tourists who come from outside. With the creation of this ministry, we have seen keen interest from many private sector players who have taken steps to invest in the various stages of the value chain of the sanitation sector, with some local partners as well as global leaders all coming together in waste management to provide world-class sanitation solutions in the country. In the next few weeks or months, we should be seeing some of these global brands active in the sector. Honorable Incoming Minister, I must say you have a ton of MOUs sitting before your desk in this regard on your desk to make sure that you are able to pursue the initiatives that we've lined up. On the important Gamma project and the open defecation-free agenda of government, I must say that I cannot end without stating how the Gamma project has been wrapped up to a higher level. The project was a little slow over 3 years, and now it's been revived, and we've met the targets that were set because it was unsatisfactory initially. Now we're doing quite well by the World Bank standards, and they are using Ghana as an example. And I think from that they are bringing different representatives from different countries to come and learn what we've done. In other words, over the first 3 years of Gamma, only 1,080 toilets had been constructed for $150 million, $102 million being for sanitation. Only 1,080 toilets had been constructed. But since we came into the scene last year, we were able to work with the PCU, as the project coordinating unit, to change their approach. And now, as we speak, the percentage has gone up 50%. In other words, from 1,080 toilets in just about 1 year, a little over 1 year, 9,300 toilets have been constructed under Gamma. Connections of water have been done in some low-income communities around the Teshi area, from $48 million from the Gamma money that was earmarked for the use of Ghana Water Company. And so water is improving in those parts of Accra as well. It is also under this project that we have constructed the Malam drains, which have so far prevented floods in that area in recent times. Ladies and gentlemen, the status of this project is now satisfactory according to the World Bank, and they're happy about it, and they're looking to go into Gamma 2, which is a bigger version of Gamma, which simply means that money will be allocated for us to do what we've done in the Greater Accra area, other parts of the country. Additionally, on the ODF agenda of constructing 1 million household toilets under this government agenda, we targeted 200,000 toilets this year. I estimated 30,000 have been completed so far, and contracts have been awarded for another 40,000, with plans for corporate Ghana to support the ODF program to be launched next month, through which we can solicit and raise funds for another 100,000 toilets. The rollout of the Sanitation Brigade for enforcement and the active participation of sanitation marshals, first in the government agencies and later in all private entities, to ensure compliance and adherence to the sanitation bylaws is on. The idea is simply to set the tone from the ministry, but then it will be run by the assemblies. Since it's going to be the assemblies' job, as it has been over the years, for them to be directly responsible for sanitation service provision. There's a lot more I can say. But we had our session last year, the media press session last year. I'm here today simply because I'm moving on to another ministry. I wanted to give a gist of what we've done so far in the year and a half that the new ministry has been created. I'm sure the incoming minister will have a lot more to tell you. And I'm also sure that from your questions and answers, I'll be able to elaborate on what I've said so far. I thank you all very much for coming.
Minister, thank you for outlining what the ministry has been up to in the last 1.5 years. Colleagues, we are in good time to take your questions for the minister.
Good morning. My name is Melvin from Daily Guy. Honorable, the president last year was specific when he said he wanted Accra to be the cleanest city in Africa. He did not make mention of the fact that he wanted Ghana to be the cleanest country in Africa, but Accra, the cleanest city in Africa. And from the current site of Accra, one would tell that the president's dream of making Accra the cleanest city is nowhere near being achieved. And it seems the ministry, the sanitation ministry, is failing in that direction. One is the specific measures you are going to take. What are the specific timelines you are taking to ensure that come maybe 2 years from now, we will see that the president's dream of making Accra the cleanest city is going to be achieved?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. Good morning. This is David Hutton, RFI. I would simply like to ask, considering the poverty level and the development level we have in Ghana in terms of families and their survival, is there a criteria for constructing public toilets for the general public? And I would like to know who is picking up the bill for solar-powered toilets.
Thank you very much. My name is Joseph Kobla Wemako, and I write for GhanaNews1.com. I'd like to find out, we know that sanitation is one of the sensitive problems that we are facing as a country, which is vividly underscored in your presentation. And I would like to find out, 1.5 years since formation of your sector, what is your biggest achievement so far? Achievement so far? Secondly, about the open defecation project. I'd like to find out what are some of the feedbacks you have been collecting in regards to this program. Has it been, in terms of being successful and in terms of cost, are there measures you are taking to ensure that people living in the villages can afford to get this kind of toilet facility so that we can improve upon? Yes, that should be, yes. Oh, okay. I'm talking about that project that targets, yeah. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On the Accra Cleaner City agenda, we've had a series of meetings. We've drawn up strategies on that, and they cover the entire value chain. First of all, if you don't have a final disposal site, you cannot be cleaning up Accra. Okay? You can clean up, gather the waste, and where do you get rid of it? We face some constraints on that, so we focus on trying to ensure that the final disposal sites are open enough to take all the waste that we're going to be conveying with them. But within the cleaning areas in Accra, we've zoned it up and working with the AMA in particular to ensure that different zones of the city are handled by certain groups of people under the assembly. We provide the initiative, we provide the ideas on what should be done. We don't actually go out on the ground and get it done for them. And so the zoning and looking at the value chain of the entire waste management function, I think that we have addressed seriously. But I think underpinning all of that is the fact that the resources were limited all of last year for us to be able to do this. I did indicate to you what happened last year, and indeed if you go through the analysis and see what we actually got last year, it was just in the neighborhood of under 1 million cedis to do capital expenditure work. And that we could not really make any difference as far as that's concerned. This year, the funds have rolled in. The only delay has been the procurement process. And so what is required for the assemblies, particularly those in the government area, to work towards achieving the President's agenda, those funds have been earmarked. We set aside funds for all the assemblies in the Greater Accra area. The AMA is getting about 1 million cedis, 2 million, I beg your pardon. TEMA is getting about 1 million cedis. The other ones, their funds range from about 400,000 to about 300,000 just for the last 3-4 months of the year. And that's supposed to support them along with what they're also using from their own resource to undertake this exercise. So structuring the process in such a way that you build a capacity, you give them the equipment which we are procuring for them, and then get the teams on the road or the streets to clean, and making sure that the final disposal sites are there, that ensure that we're able to clean, we're able to convey, we're able to dispose of. Without that, we continue to see the waste sitting here. On the public toilets, Ghana has been rated rather low when it comes to ODF or sanitation globally. Why? Because we've not focused on household toilets. And so that's why we got Gamma to move from the 1,088 toilets to the number that I mentioned, 750% increase. And I also gave the statistics on what we've done so far. About 40,000 toilets being built, and we're looking to get the private sector to also come in and support. So that is really our focus. Once you have toilets in your house, what we typically talk about when we say open defecation, it's me leaving my house and going to the street side to do it. But once you have that in the house, you don't go out and do it. But we must have a limited number of public toilets. You go to the market, that's not where your house is. You go to hospital, that's not where your house is. You're in school, that's not where your house is. So there's construction going on for these public toilets. Government is shouldering the bill on part of that, and then others have come, private players, offering to do it for a fee. So we wrote and gave them permission to be able to construct toilets in public places with the consent of the assemblies. We've done that. Some have started in different parts of the country, and what they will do is strategically look at the public places like the markets and construct the toilets. From the government side, when I see the public toilets, I think of the schools, the clinics, the hospitals, and so on. I think that's why government should be taking the bill on constructing public toilets. But as to the general markets and so, that should be more commercial. So government will support some public toilets, but we'll leave it largely to the private sector. But on the household toilets, we'll keep pushing this agenda, get it up to a level where we think will significantly improve the situation in the country. And thereafter, the enforcement of the sanitation brigades on the bylaws will make sure that you and I construct my house should be able to construct the toilet. You can construct a typical Ghanaian, shall we say, 20-room compound house, and you cannot take one of the rooms to construct the toilet. The law will catch up with you through the sanitation brigade. On solar power toilets, what the government is looking to do, we are picking the bill as far as constructing those toilets. So the initiative to get them constructed is what the government is doing. But maintaining it will be left to the owners, those in the community who own those toilets. They should be able to find a little way of getting a little fee to buy a battery after maybe 3 or 5 years if they have to buy a solar battery. But the panels will be procured by us, the first batteries will be procured by us, and then the construction will be done by us to show the way. I think what I read through on the Kobla's question, I think I've admired a lot of the achievements in there. Securing funds alone are the first and only ministry in the first year of Nana's government to secure 149 million cedis was no small feat. That alone is paving the way for water and sanitation to be undertaken in the country. Community water is there, Ghana Water is there, and the ministry itself is undertaking those kinds of projects. Gaslit is coming on board as well. So that's one of the biggest things we have to do to start to make sure we have resources. And then the strategic plan shows the way forward. The evacuation of the illegal refuse heaps, we've done that. Maintenance of that will be left to the assemblies to continue to do that, and they're doing that quite well. The ODF, I stated the numbers. Gamma started out quite slow with all kinds of problems because they were not, the project was not packaged very well, and they counted the time that the project was being negotiated into the delivery period. And so within the 3 years that we've been talking about, only 1,080 toilets were constructed. Gamma has constructed now, I think it's 9,300 plus toilets. That's just in about a year and a half. So if you want to count that as an achievement, we have to get into the situation with the PCU, that's the Project Coordinating Unit, and the World Bank, to change the arrangements to make sure they're able to do what they're doing. We call them large-scale toilets. And if you go to all the communities in Accra, you see some semblance of that. I might also add that building the capacity of the ministry is not just about the people and the process and so on, but also the systems. The systems, for instance, having integrated information systems or database that will collate all the data we need to be able to tell our own story in terms of how much or how well are we performing. Not to go to a national, international conference and hear that Ghana Open Education Expert said. We should be able to look at our data here. So whether a member of parliament like me builds 4 or 5 toilets, are reported, it's captured, it's put in the system. Whether Gamma does it, whether Gaslit does it, or Community Water is doing their 28,000 or 20,000 toilets, all those figures should go into the database to give us a global figure at a certain point in time. So all those are things that were strategically planned to give us a good system that we use to manage the delivery of this agenda. Thank you.
I'm Nana Kwesi Ampopo from Oman FM. Honorable, as you admitted earlier that you were being bashing, that you are not performing. Perhaps if you were really working, what do you think didn't go down well with the people so that the incoming minister will learn from it? Thank you.
Please, in your delivery, you said lack of funds seems to be a major challenge for your ministry. Please, what are you going to do to get funds to be able to embark on the major projects you have before you? And then you said, if I heard you right, you said that the president allocated 100 million Ghana cedis for your ministry, but the finance ministry gave you 50 million Ghana cedis. When are they going to release the remaining 50? Thank you.
All right, good morning. Please, my name is Daniel Nkansa. I report for NGO TV. I would like to know, with regards to the sanitation brigade, how many of them have been recruited so far since it has been launched, and how effective have they been in terms of tackling sanitation at the beaches? Yeah, my next question is that I think the government came in with an expectation that making sure that I think not one Saturday is set aside in the month to tackle sanitation, but every day becomes a sanitation day whereby everybody plays or a part effectively in tackling sanitation in the capital. Please, what have been done in terms of making sure that every day is seen as a sanitation day? Because when the previous administration was in that, the Mahama administration, they make sure that every Saturday that was chosen as a sanitation march, we see awareness, we see posters, we see banners, and we see that corporate organizations were coming on board. With regards to what President Nanado has come on board with, that every day being a sanitation day, we don't see a lot of awareness being created about it. So people don't recognize even the days as the sanitation day. My last question is got to do with the solar powered toilets. Please, when are they coming to board, or when are they coming to Fox? And with the Gamma project going nationwide, when is it going to commence to as well? Thank you very much.
Good morning, Honorable Minister. I would like to speak to you. Okay. The question is, the Dikano, Honorable Ekasano, Ochemu, and Norma Obaye, Wabaye, and the Obaye. Nansono, Yehun said, Ban Ahunidian Samoa, Ghana Hanititunin Kahano. Ya kechi nti me pese me hu se how ben and the ministry no wo mo wo sebe ya Ghana fo nso bitimi aboa na efia emene Ghana fo no ano atimi abafom the tosu mienu am se ona bosa ka se Gamma toilet project o maye but yet say Ministry of Local Government and so babonten say o na be yes o na yes project no we one house one toilet in nti pese me hu say sa one house one toilet project na o ka ho asem a Ministry of Sanitation a Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources and now say Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development.
Good morning, Honorable Minister. I want to know the status of two land-side fill projects. One was in Tema, the other was at Ublogo in Accra here. We have heard that there were some disputes about the residents and the government because people were saying that it had some health implications. And so they were not prepared to allow the government to go carry on. And then what has also happened to Lavender Hill? Is it functional or there are problems because it's supposed to deal with solid waste? So we want to know the three projects, the landfill sites and Lavender Hill. And then my second question, Honorable, it's unfortunate that your ministry was on media for lack of performance. I don't know, but I don't know for what you have told us this morning. Was it because you were not coming out to explain to Ghanaians, or people were just being cynical and cryptic and just uncharitable to you? Because you had a problem, but people didn't understand. They thought that your minister was not doing well. What really happened? Why didn't you come out to explain to Ghanaians why this thing was happening to the sanitation sector? Thank you.
Ministry primarily is responsible for policy formulation and program development and strategy laying for the implementation to be done by respective agencies. As it is now, we have no dedicated agency in the ministry other than the Environmental Health and Sanitation Directorate that is supporting the minister on the policy and program aspect of its work. And of course, the PPEM also deals with the monitoring. So, by our arrangements in Ghana, the assemblies are directly responsible for collecting the waste, working with the private sector to collect the waste and dispose of it. We give them the guidelines, we give them policy direction, we try to assist them to get the resources they need to be able to get that done. I don't think it's natural or it's proper under our governance for the ministry to carry on that responsibility, going around from district to district, from community to community, collecting all the waste. I think a total misunderstanding of that. On the funds aspect of it, I think the young lady asked the question about 100 million being given by the president and so on and so forth. I think you are right, you didn't quite understand it. 200 million cedis were pledged by the president. Finance released 100 million cedis to us. Okay? And then our capital expenditure budget was 60 million. But they gave us the release to us 59 million cedis. Do you understand the arithmetic? 200 million pledged, 100 million released from the president's allocation, then 59 million cedis released from the minister's budget. On the sanitation brigade, how many have been recruited so far, and so on and so forth. I think it's now that we're rolling out sanitation brigade. I made that clear in my statement. The concept was presented when we launched this sanitation communication campaign last year by the president. We also showed the Assembly the way to do that. They provided names and lists of people who will form sanitation brigades in their areas. The staff officer responsible for that has collated that. The logistics we have, part of the reason why it's not giving them out is because we don't have enough to give to everybody. So his wise judgment, he thought maybe let's hang on and beef up the numbers of the logistics and get everybody to get their share of the uniform to be able to go out and start working. So it's now that it's coming out. The awareness creation, it links up with the funding. The main purpose of the sanitation campaign launch was to make sure that we're able to identify certain and continue to educate people, engage private sector, engage civil society organizations, so on and so forth. You really can't do that. When they call a minister and you call somebody to come to a function, they expect you to have money to give to them. If the money is not coming from the Minister of Finance and you keep engaging them, you're going to be in trouble. You embarrass yourself and soon you get negative attitudes trickling in. So the awareness, some NGOs are helping out. What we've done under the funds that have been given to us by the Minister of Finance, we've allocated a line item there for the awareness creation. So you see a lot more of that on radio, on TV, in the communities. There are all kinds of things about campus storms in schools, community invasions, they call them. You see all those things happening. So this is the time now for the rollout. So all the work that was done, planning and getting to this level and getting the funding, it's ready now for us to roll out. On the solar toilets, I don't know what we mean by solar toilets. I still need some elaboration on that, but basically if you think of it in terms of having solar panels or solar power to support pumping of water into tanks that you use to flush, yes, that, I understand, is being done. Nationwide gamma. It's lack of a better way of putting it, because the term gamma is synonymous with sanitation and water in Greater Accra area. But what we're now talking about is that type of project package is what will go nationwide. So it's a process we have to go through. I'm hopeful that by early next year we can see signs of that. I've not been able to talk to World Bank officers in the past several weeks, so I cannot give you an accurate figure on that. Yes, yes, my colleague mentioned weaknesses in the ministry or problems we've had in the ministry that would not make other people aware. I'm not, let me say, a cheap talker, and I don't want just to talk for the sake of talking. We came here last year, we laid out our program on what we're trying to do. We wanted to be able to get this in concrete form before we come back again. So we're ready to do that. But to go on radio or TV every day, we don't have money. We don't have money. We have not finished the support. People should do this and that. I think it just attracts unnecessary attention. I would encourage the Chief Director and his staff to make sure that we publicize the plans, so you know exactly what we worked on till now. And when those things are come out, you know these were things that were there from the very beginning. It just didn't come up from the air. The sympathy we would have gotten from you, well, I think you should have also been coming to us quite often, even though we should have been calling you, but we couldn't get that done, so we were busy working. I've heard an issue raised about one house, one toilet. I never heard that before until I said it during my vetting. That's when I stated very clearly that we need to have one house, one toilet. That's what will help us to improve our rating on open defecation free. I never heard it coming from local government ministry. I don't know if my staff have heard it before, but I never heard that. If it's been said, maybe it's been said casually. But as far as one house, one toilet program being part of the 1 million toilets target by the government is what we plan to do. And that's why I gave the numbers on 200,000 toilets this year, and then 500,000, that was my plan, next year, and then 300,000 to conclude with 2020. Landfill sites, there have always been problems with landfill sites, and I must say here, I didn't say in my statement that the policy of my administration was simply that we would target zero landfill policy. By zero landfill policy, we understand that to mean that we should convert the waste into value-added products or services, and not carry the waste and go and dump it like we have in Abokobi, and then there's some in Sumia and other private stations. We should avoid that, and that's the way to go globally. The communication bit, as I said, now that there are funds coming up, I'm sure there'll be a lot more on air about sanitation. And I'm sure that we plan, just as we've done, to ensure that it addresses thematic areas of that. That would impact on each of us in getting us to do what we need to do to clean our environment, because it's for our own benefit. Thank you.
Good morning. My question board is on ODF and sanitation. I want to find out, I'm Jessica Ahedo, I'm with GNTV. Sorry for that. I want to find out how punitive is our sanitation laws, because we are dealing with issues that has to do with attitudinal change that topped the charts when we are listing the challenges confronting the sanitation sector.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kofi Lucas, representing Network of Associations of Registered NGOs in Ghana. Good presentation, Minister. I was expecting to see the incoming minister also being here so that any suggestion that will make, she could carry it up. I hope the directors are here. I'm happy that the minister has mentioned that they have a strategic development plan. But if the plan is being developed by consultants and is left at the national level there, I'm afraid we need to bring it down so that we share with strategic shareholders. So let's consider it as a draft. Let strategic stakeholders also make input into it before you can get their maximum cooperation. Else, it's going to be different thing, because I've realized that some of the ministries do have strategic plans, but at the end of the day, when they do the checklist, you realize that they failed. And I don't want this ministry to fail. So there's a need for the document to be considered as a draft, bring it down to the electoral areas, meet the religious bodies, share with them, let them make their input, and then you see that at the end of the day, you will succeed. And I appreciate that the incoming minister and his directors will take this suggestion seriously and then run with it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Honorable Minister. My name is Richard Mensah. My question is, elsewhere people were paid for picking waste and dumping it at appropriate place. Is there an effort, or is there something happening in Ghana where people are educated on pick a waste, dump it here, and you get paid to help us reduce sanitation effort in Ghana? And then my second question is, with regards to waste segregation, what has the ministry done to sensitize household on how to segregate waste? Thank you.
My good friend Kofi Lucas, the strategic plan, yes, I stated in my presentation that it's left with stakeholder consultation. you put something together, I said it's in draft form, that you must have something before you that you can talk to. And so that's what's been done, and I made it very clear that it's left with strategic consultations with the stakeholders before we can finalize it. So definitely that has to happen. But even in building up this draft, the various forms of consultation were done within the sector, of those big players that we do know. When I say big, I mean the ministry, agencies, some of the NGOs that have been frequenting and supporting us. But it's not the end of it. I think the minister will take it up, and the officers in charge are still going to get that done. On the paying for pickers, the whole value chain of waste management has a component or an element that involves sustainable financing. Something that we're due to go and work on and come back and look at what it takes to be able to, as it were, incentivize people to keep the environment clean. It's very common for you to have plastic bottles, PET bottles, all in a bag and go and trade it off for some 5 cents or 2 cents. But we don't have the recycling plants spread around many enough, or the outlets that should be able to get these products and send them to the plants. And until we get the facilities constructed, until we're able to set up these stations where you can quickly send the thing there and collect the money, there's not going to be any incentive for it. Waste segregation, the difficulty has been in the past that even if you are careful about your own environment, or the ministry comes with a policy, and the policy is there actually, we encourage it. And so there are plans to have the equipment come, when the equipment is there in the right numbers, even with the color coding arrangements, everybody will know that this truck, when it comes, is coming for dry waste or for solid waste. And then also, arrangement has to be made on when that can be picked up. In other words, if the understanding under the policy is that on Tuesdays we only pick up organic waste, then everyone knows that when they segregate in their house, only the organic waste is what they put in front of their door, and they pick it up. If Monday is for plastics that is out there, and so on and so forth. So it's been a matter of concern to the ministry. We talked about it at length, but the infrastructural services, the equipment that are required to make sure this happens, if that's not there, it's just a matter of talk. We will talk, we will try to do it, and then we'll fall flat again on our feet. Let's clean Ghana together, and then we said everybody should play their part. Your part is also to help educate the public, ensure that they do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. All that starts well ends well, and we are almost about ending today's edition of the Meet the Press involving the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. Honorable Minister Kofi Ada, Member of Parliament for Navrongo Central. Honorable Minister, closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Indeed, I think what I said was more equivalent to closing remarks before I sat down. So there isn't much to say than to thank you very much for attending. I'm glad I had the opportunity again to share with you the little we've done so far. The hard copies will be out there that you can read. We can still conduct some interviews in the future. I will not be taking the wind out of the sails of the incoming minister. Given the experience that I've had so far, I have a lot to share. I consider us to be co-ministers in sanitation and water and co-ministers in aviation, but we are simply swapping places. It's not as if we're going to totally different environment. So we'll be there to support any issue that you wish to raise with us, that we can lead you in the right direction for you to do what we need to do to improve our country. Again, the responsibility is on us, each and every one of us. Not Honorable Cecilia Dapa, not Honorable Kofi Ada, or any of the people who are working in the sector. The question that should be asked by yourselves, should be posed to the general public is, what are you doing to improve the situation? At least Nana is doing his part, he's giving us the resources. We are doing our part, we've done a strategic plan and laid the foundation for that. We're going through the procurement process. Those things will come on board. I'm sure they engage you in the communication side of it. I'm sure you enjoy a lot more than you've had a chance to even talk to me about. And I hope that you guys will find some little resources to support them when you have to buy fuel and come to your sessions. That would encourage them. But I insist that you try and stress the fact that every day is Sanitation Day, and so we should clean up every day. We should all be proud that we helped Ghana to achieve SDG 6. Thank you very much for coming. God bless you.